Welcome back, Embers, or if you're new here, welcome to Campfire Crew. My name is Stone. My pronouns are they, them. So today we are doing a video inspired by Dub's Beauty Diary. At least they're the person who I saw do this video who made me want to do this video. Links in the description for them. And I will also figure out who started this series and also put them in the description down below. So as you can tell by the title, what we're doing here today is we're going to talk about my top 5s of non-makeup related products, categories. And if you see me looking down, it's at my notebook where I wrote all this down, and I'm realizing now one of these categories isn't full, but that's okay. Apparently I only have 4 favorite movies, which is what we are going to start with. We're going to start with movies. So, in terms of movies, my favorite movies are this. This is in no particular order. My favorite movie of all time, I have 2 favorite, you know what? I have 3 favorite movies, and then there's going to be another movie I'm going to mention. But my 3 favorite movies, if I'm ever asked what my favorite movies are The Princess Bride. Love that movie. I've loved it for a really long time. It has fight scenes, it has romance, it has torture, it's witty and fun, and the banter's fun, and there's swordplay, and it's just like a lot of things I like about a movie all wrapped into one. So I love that movie. It's so fun to watch. I watch it all the time. The next one is the movie that my boyfriend tells me we're gonna watch if I am like sleeping in the bedroom and I don't want to come out and I don't want to do anything. I'm depressed, and he's like, well, I want to spend time with my partner, so how do I get them out into the living room? He will usually tell me, well, I'm watching Megamind. Do you want to watch Megamind with me? And then I'm like, yeah, I want to watch Megamind. And that's such a crazy pick, but I just love that movie. I really do. I think it's so funny that during that time period they were already talking about incel behavior, but for like back to a genuinely like good cinematic movie. My next favorite is more recent, and that is A24's Everything Everywhere All at Once. Such a good movie. I freaking love Everything Everywhere All at Once. It is insightful, it is thoughtful, it's really freaking funny, it's really fun to watch. It's just like, again, it's a lot of distinct features of movies that I like all kind of piled together. There's good action scenes. There's a lot of like, there's the main character. There's a couple main characters, but one of the main characters is queer, is either lesbian, bisexual, I don't know, but they have a girlfriend. And, you know, I love gay shit, obviously. So, love that movie. It is such a good watch. It is such a masterful piece of media. It's so weird. It's so weird. It's such a weird movie, and it's so good, and I love it so much. It's really good. After that, I was like, what do I put? And then I realized a movie I really love in a genre that I do not watch very often, which is horror, is The Menu, which is a psychological horror movie. I'm not going to spoil it. If you've seen it, let me know, DM me, because I love this movie. It is so interesting. I have a lot of thoughts about it. Anyway, that's my 4th movie. I couldn't think of a 5th one. Yeah, and I can't think of one off the top of my head. So we're just going to go into books. Love to read. I haven't read in a while. However, these are the 5 books. The first one is the first book I ever really fell in love with. And that is this book called Dark Angels. It's a historical fiction, and it's about King Henry VIII, I believe, the one who, you know, killed, divorced, and beheaded all his wives. It's about one of his maids of honor for his first wife, Catherine. The way the main character of this book is written is like a woman who is in a position where they are offered very little power compared to men, and the way that whatever power she does have, because she is wealthy, because, you know, she is in a position of some authority for her time, she manages to wield whatever power she has to her advantage to try and get the women in her lives and the other people in her lives, but primarily it focuses on getting the women in her lives into positions that will set them up for success in a world that is not made for them, that is harsh and terrible towards them. And it shows that she goes about this in a really tragic way. But personally, I feel like it never paints her as a villain so much as a misguided figure that is a product of her time. It is so interesting. It's really sad at the end. There's murder, there's mystery, there's intrigue. It's a big ass book. It's like 700 pages. It's like tall and thick. But yeah, there's a lot of subplots that are kind of going on all at the same time. But it is really interesting. I love it a lot. The next book in my favorites is a book called Honey Girls. And Honey Girls I found a couple of years ago now. And it is about this girl who goes to Vegas and she gets drunk married to this other girl. She's a lesbian, for reference. She gets drunk married to this girl, and instead of annulling their marriage as soon as they get back, they try and make it work. And it's really cute. It's really nice. I like it a lot. Again, it's gay, so there's that. But it is a coming of age story, but instead of being about teenagers, which a lot of coming of age stories are, it's about young adults who are out of college now, who are going into careers, trying to find, their career paths, their like forever jobs, and the way in which things don't quite work out the way you think they're going to. And yeah, it's a coming of age for older adults, and I really liked that. It was a good book. The next one is just generally the Hunger Games series. Again, this is an old fic from when I was young, but I reread it recently, including the prequel book, and I am always surprised at how well these books hold up. Like, a lot of dystopia from that era do not hold up that well, but these hold up better, I think, the older I get and the more I see of the world. And even the prequel book about Snow, I was really worried. I didn't read it originally because there was a lot of books in this kind of like, oh my god, hot evil villain has a tragic backstory and now he's redeemed kind of thing. But no, it doesn't go that way. He's actually the worst. He becomes worse as the book goes on. And the way he becomes the worst is because of his wealth and power. It is because of these kind of like the views he and his family, he has been taught through his family to view himself as above everyone else. And that ultimately is his downfall at every turn. He just sucks. He gets worse as the book goes on, and I love that. I love it. It's really really well written. Okay, the next book is also a series, and the first book is called 1,000 Pieces of You, and this is like fluff. This is definitely fluff. I will not lie to you. This is fluff. It's a romance book in which the protagonist has parents who are trying to prove that multiple universes exist, and then they get pulled into the multiple universes through schemes, let's say, but they end up having to travel through multiple universes. There's, again, I'm realizing there's a lot of, in the things I like, murder and intrigue. There's a lot of murder and intrigue. There's a lot of romance. There's a lot of questions about like who people are and how much do their circumstances change who they are, what things are fundamental about them, what things are not fundamental about them, it's a little confusing, but it's good and it's fluffy and it makes me ooh a lot. I really like it. It's good. It makes me happy. And the last one is not so fluffy and happy. It is called The Island Child. It is a back and forth perspective from the past and the present, where a mother's daughter goes missing. I think she's a teenager, if I remember correctly, but their teenage daughter goes missing, and it goes from present day of the mom trying to figure out where the fuck her daughter went, to the past of them living on a small island in Ireland, yes, of them living on a small island in Ireland and their childhood. So it goes from a chapter of their childhood to a chapter on their present day trying to find their daughter, to their childhood, to their daughter, and back and forth, back and forth. And they currently live in Canada, which I also currently live in Canada. My mom's side of my family is Irish. I don't know how far back before it actually gets to Ireland, but that is lineage-wise where my mom's side of the family is from at some point. So yeah, it's about family trauma. It's about family trauma, and I have a lot of it. It's true though. I have a lot of family trauma, and that's why I relate to this book. It's also really well written. There's another book on my shelf, I wish I could see the title, that is also written in this way, and I really like. But it's really good. I love this back and forth narrative it has of kind of explaining the past and how we got to the present. And once the book ends and they meet in the middle where you know what, won't spoil it, but once they meet in the middle at the end of the book where the past and the present kind of get bumped back into each other, it's really beautiful and sad and good and sad and sad and sad, really sad. Anyway, it's a really good book. I really enjoyed it. I hope I can get some new favorite books soon, because I would like to get back into reading. I haven't done it in a while. Okay, so next we have TV shows, and now that I'm reading my list of TV shows, it is very different from my books and my movies. The first one is Bob's Burgers. So my boyfriend and we haven't watched the most recent season. I need to do that. But we've watched all, I think, 13 seasons that were up previously of Bob's Burgers. If you've never watched the show, it's an animated show about this family who owns a burger restaurant. The burger restaurant's the dad's dream, and the wife and the kids all work in the restaurant. The kids are weird as hell. It is pretty much canon. I don't know if... No, it's pretty much canon that one of the daughters at least is autistic, but all of them are freaking weirdos. It's a really fun watch. The family clearly love each other. There's not like this... A lot of animated comedy shows, the dad is really sexist and annoying and awful. This is not one of them. The dad's actually nice. It's like a very cast of characters kind of shows. If you haven't watched it, you should. It's really good. It's really good. It's really funny. The next show on this, I have not watched all the way through. I am currently watching it with my boyfriend. It's called Ghosts. It's a show where this lady and her husband inherit this house from like a long lost relative. The lady falls down the stairs and dies for several minutes, and then when they come back to, they go into a coma, I think. When they come back to and come back to the house, they can see ghosts, and all of the ghosts have died on the property. It's another cast of characters kind of show. It's really funny. It's really good. Apparently they have a British version. Every show apparently has a British version. Every comedy, at least. Have not watched the British version. Haven't even finished the current version. But what I have watched so far is really good. And it's really funny. And I've enjoyed watching it very much. The next thing on my list, we're getting into the kid shows I like. I like kid shows. Okay? Let's start with the greatest kid show, which is Avatar: The Last Airbender. And also, I'm going to talk about Korra because it is also on this list. So Avatar: The Last Airbender, great kid show. It's about a war. It's about the Avatar who can bend all four elements: fire, water, air, and earth. I remember these things. My memory is good. It's not good. If you haven't seen it, it's really good. It's a really good kid show. And the sequel, Korra, hits me personally right in the feels. The 4th season of Korra makes me cry. It's so emotional. It has to do with mental health. I suffer from a lot of mental health stuff, always have. So it was very emotional to me. It makes me cry, but in a cathartic way. Yeah. I'm not going to say too much about it because a lot of people know the show. The last show I will talk about is She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, which is the new She-Ra reboot. And I like it because it's gay as fuck. It's female-centric. It's very gay. Every character feels either is openly gay or feels gay. There's like asexuals, bisexuals, lesbians, ace people. There's all sorts of different queer people. It's about friendship and magic and war. A lot of kid shows cover war. Don't know why that's a prevailing theme of kid shows. A lot of kids do go through war though, so that's fine. Yeah, it's really good. There's definitely some mental health elements to it, which I really like. There's some characters I find very relatable. Catra specifically kind of aligns with a lot of people headcanon her as having BPD, which I have. And so I like that about it because she's a character that you see her very low points, but you see her have a redemption arc that is difficult and hard and confusing. You see her. The show talks about childhood trauma. Obviously, it's a show centered around war, so there's some childhood trauma, but like it talks about parental figures. There's dynamics of like golden child syndrome and like I can't remember the other one. There's the golden child and then there's not the black sheep. But it talks about like childhood family dynamics and healthy relationships, and I think that's all pretty cool. So I like the show a lot. I think kid shows get a bad rap because they're obviously kid shows, but like older kid shows I think have a lot to offer. There's a lot to think about in them, and I like that. Anyway, those are my favorite shows. Next, we're getting into music. So I have 2 musical categories. I believe DW had favorite songs and favorite artists, but instead of doing that, I've picked favorite albums and favorite songs, and the favorite songs are not on any of my favorite albums. Both of these categories, subject to change. I love albums. I love listening to whole albums. I love when an album is cohesive, when it makes sense as a whole continuous story or as a large set of themes and the album is talking about a theme through a bunch of different lenses or a certain time period in their life. But I love a big, good, cohesive album, so I wanted to talk about them. So my 5 albums, and again, these might change when I listen to new albums or by the day or the month, depending on how I'm feeling. And the songs definitely will change. But my favorite albums. First of all, we have from Xana, I think that's how you pronounce their name, the album The Sex Was Good Until It Wasn't. And it is an album that's primary focus is relationships. And it's trigger warning if you're gonna listen to this album. It definitely talks about SA and such things like that. But this album talks about this person's kind of relationships throughout their lives. So it talks about relationships in which they were fucked over, relationships where they fucked people over. It is a messy, messy album. It definitely, this person is not painting themselves or the person they are depicting. I don't know if it's actually based on them. In Always the Best light, one of the songs I really like and I think is really interesting in this album is a song that is essentially about them cheating with some guy, and then the next song after that is called Monster, and it's saying like, oh, I heard you were calling me a monster. You could do better. Like, you could do a better insult for all the shit I put you through. And at the end of the song, they explicitly state that they cheated. They like slept with their best friend's partner, which is bad, obviously. And you get the impression that the previous song that was about their cheating with somebody who had a partner was about this situation. But what I love about this is a lot of songs will kind of imply that they that an artist did something wrong, but they will never tell you what they did. They're just like, I fucked people over somehow. And I don't know why that went so country. I listen to country. I listen to pop primarily. But this one tells you what they did wrong, and that's pretty good. My favorite song in this album is called Sick Joke. I am the type of person who will replay a song over and over again for weeks at a time, usually 2 weeks to 2 months-ish, and I will just listen to it on repeat. I also really like sad music because, again, the BPD thing, one of the things about BPD is you have extreme reactions to emotions. You feel things really strongly. And so one of the ways I deal with that is by listening to really emotional music, because then I can feel those emotions and not get overwhelmed by them. So I like sad music. This is one of them. It's really good. It's a really like sad but cathartic sad song to listen to on repeat. The next album is by Miley Cyrus, and it's her Plastic Hearts album. It is this kind of punky, like, I wouldn't say punk, but I'm not good at genres. I'm realizing every time I talk about music genres, I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about. But it is this really good kind of rock and roll album. I don't even know my favorite songs. So many of them are good. It's just such a good album. I don't have as much to say about it because I haven't listened to it in longer, but ooh, all I know is it's really, really good. It's really good. And I really, really like Miley Cyrus's voice for that kind of music. I think it fits so well. Her voice can get so raspy and cool. And it's just like the lyrics are on point. It's just such a good album. The next album is by Rina Sawayama, and it's called Sawayama. And it's this really cool queer pop artist who I believe is from the UK. And they talk, one of the songs I really like is about family trauma. Wow. Who would have guessed? Clearly I like things about family trauma, but it's about breaking family trauma, breaking generational curses, that kind of thing, which I think is really cool because it's something my mom tried to do a lot. It's something, if I had kids, I would do. I'm not gonna have kids, but you know. So there's a song about that. There's an anti-capitalist song, which again, shocking. You can see the things I'm into with this. It's a little telling. I feel a little exposed with this video, I'll be honest. But yeah, it is really good. She's got there's a song about like a terrible date. There's a lot of really interesting material within this album. There's a song that is so interesting. There's a song called Bad Friend, which is about her being a bad friend. You would think it'd be about somebody else, but I love when people know their flaws and sing about them or talk about them or write about them. I think that's interesting, but it's about her being a bad friend to her friends and that she doesn't mean to ignore people or like, you know, not be a good friend, but somehow she always ends up just not being a very good friend, and she wishes she could change it and doesn't know how. There's just a lot of really interesting themes and messages in this album. It's so freaking good. Love it. Need to re-listen to that. The next album is Guts by Olivia Rodrigo. I also originally had Sour by Olivia Rodrigo, but I thought it was redundant to put both of those albums, and I do think Guts is a better album. You can see that she's grown as an artist and as a person in this album. Vampire is haunting. It is a haunting song about the abuse that young women face at the hands of older men who are trying to manipulate them. There's other songs about abuse of younger women that I think are really relatable to a lot of, I mean, I don't identify as a woman, but like, you know, I'm still affected by misogyny, right? So, you know, it affects a lot of us who grew up being identified as women and actual women. So I think that's really fabulous. There's songs about, like the last song on that album is about feeling like you're not enough. Like, when is my youth gonna end? And then everyone's gonna realize that I'm not as good as they think I am. That being young won't be an excuse anymore. That no one will be able to say, oh, she's just learning, she's young. There's a lot of self-doubt on the album, which is unfortunate and sad, but also, like, I love a good personal album, as you can probably tell. I love introspection in music. I think it's a really powerful way of looking inwards at yourself. I just think it's a really, really good album. There's the song where she talks about how she doesn't have any friends and she did this to herself and she blames everyone else, but like really it's her fault and she needs to do something about it, but she just doesn't know what to do. There's just a lot of good stuff on that album. And the last album is by Orla Gartland, and it's called Everybody Needs a Hero. And again, it's got a lot of really interesting stuff on the album. Hello. Okay. I had to go. I'm back. My makeup is off, but it is the same day, as you can tell by my outfit. Not that I've never worn the same outfit 2 days in a row, especially on the weekend, but let me open this up, figure out where we were, and let's get back into it. So one of the songs I really love on this album is called The Hit, and it talks about a friendship that's so like unhealthily intertwined that she has trouble separating herself from this other person, and does this thing where she feels the other person's emotion even sometimes when they don't. So like they feel all their feelings, which again, as someone with BPD, that's one of the things we do, is we'll take on the emotions of other people, because part of BPD is it's like a trauma response, right? And one of the things it does is that it teaches you that you need to pay attention to everyone else's feelings so that you can always know if somebody's in a bad mood, so then you can people please as a mode of protection. And so I really love that song. It's really interesting. There's also trigger warning for SA. I like a lot of things that involve that theme. Okay. I wonder why. There's there's one really good song where it's called Late to the Party, and it's basically about someone's past relationships affecting the current one. So like my ex was traumatized by their ex, and now that trauma's kind of being played out upon me. But yeah, that album's really good. There's a lot of really interesting themes in it. I like an album with interesting themes. So now we're going into my 5 favorite songs. I decided to purposefully pick songs that are not in any of these albums. Just so we can talk about different things, because I love talking about different things. This was really hard to pick. This was really hard to choose, but I did my best. So speaking of trigger warning for SA, my first song is by Demi Lovato. It's called 29. It is a song explicitly about an older man dating a teenager. And the thing that I find so fascinating about this song is that the big punching moment of this song is literally just the words, 17, 29, that's it. Because the idea is that you hear all of the like backstory the rest of the time and how that made her feel or them feel. I think they go by her again, but I think that's only because people are being annoying about it. Anyway, like how that made them feel and how wrong that is and how weird it is for grown adult men to be dating teenagers, all that kind of stuff. But then she just reinforces this message by going 17, 29, and it's just so good to me that that's the punchy line. It's just announcing how old they both were. Nothing, just how old they both were. Oh, it's so good. Honestly, I really like that album too, the album that comes from. It's really good. There's a song on it that isn't my favorite, but I do really like it. I think it's called Eat Me, and it's about like the consumerism of Disney kids, which Olivia Rodrigo also talks about in her first album. I think it's really interesting theme-wise. But about how you're just going to have to take me as I am because I'm a commodity to you, but I am not going to change how I act anymore to be a commodity to you. Really interesting. Not what we're talking about. The next one is by Maggie Lindenman. I'm bad at pronouncing names. I don't think I've ever said that out loud. And it's called Different. It's another BPD fan favorite. I definitely have seen some like BPD specific playlists with this on it. I think that's where I found it actually. But it's a song where she's basically singing about how she's gonna like go take a plane and fly away, but she's not sure about it because BPD be like that. It's just really good. Maybe I'll play a little snippet of it here. I don't know if I can, but that's a really good song. I really like Conan Gray's People Watching. That was one of the songs I definitely, that was one of the songs I definitely listened to on repeat for a little bit. I think it was about 3 weeks. I was just listening to that over and over again. So when I was thinking about songs that I really love, I definitely thought of that. There's also a song by Conan Gray called Family Lines, which, common theme in this video, talks about family trauma. Shocking. But the one, People Watching, is about watching this couple who's like so in love, and they're just like, I really want that. All my relationships have been shit. One day maybe I'll have that, but for now I'm just people watching. The next is kind of an obvious pull for right now. It's Chappell Rowan song. It's not actually the most obvious Chappell Rowan song, but it is the one of the first songs I heard from them. And that is My Kink is Karma. And it's such a like, my ex screwed me over and now their life fucking sucks. And that really gets me going. That makes me horny. This is an adult channel if you didn't know. This is an adult channel. But yeah, that's what the song is about. Obviously, we already know Chappell Rowan. Her music is amazing. Love a queer icon. Also, love that she is deconstructing what it means to be a celebrity, because we don't treat celebrities very well as like a group. I grew up in the 90s and early 2000s, so yeah, I feel that hardcore. But it's nice to see somebody trying to push back against this idea that being a celebrity means you have to be okay with everything all the time. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, her music is so good. Love it. It's really well put together. Then I had to put in Renee Rapp's Talk Too Much. There was another song I was thinking about, but I decided Talk Too Much is just so good. It's definitely something I listen to in the summer. And it's about talking too much. It's about if you're like talking to somebody and then you just kind of like get tongue-tied and keep talking and talking and talking until you just word vomit all over them. Yeah, really good, really fun song. There is definitely lots of other music I really love, like Portals, Future Nostalgia, Lilith Ross, Solida. Folklore is a really good album. Girl in a Box by Emma Blackery is a really good album. I love talking about music, like I really do. I've never talked about music much before this year. Usually I keep that to myself because I don't know a lot of people who like the kind of music I like, but I love talking about it. I think music is so fascinating and interesting. Okay, next, video games. I was so excited to do this. I play a lot of video games. Before I had this channel, actually, I streamed on Twitch for a little bit. My laptop stopped being able to hold a charge, so I haven't been able to do that in many years now, but I did that during COVID and it was a lot of fun. But I still love gaming. I have a Switch, so these are all games I can play on my Switch, but I especially love indie games. So top games, again, no order. Spiritfarer. Spiritfarer is a game where you play as this thing called a Spiritfarer, where you help spirits pass to the other side and cope with their deaths. You learn a lot about them and their lives. It's really cute. There is a little bit of farming aspects. There's a little bit of fishing. It has the best fishing mini game in any game I've ever played. I've played a lot of the kind of cozy games that have fishing in them. Usually I hate fishing mini games, but it is a really good fishing mini game. And I think all of the like mini games they include make sense with the thing they're doing. They're kind of like, it seems like they know what it is to smelt metal and what it, like how things are actually done. Like they did research. They're all fun to do. There's a lot of like side questing you can do, but it's not like a forever game. It's really good. It's sad, but it is really, really good. It's a great indie game. It's not that expensive. The art style is amazing. I really love an art style. That is very important to me. It has to look nice. I don't know why, but it does. It has to look nice. The next game on my list is Night in the Woods. Again, lots of anthropomorphic animals. You play as this cat who's coming home from school. You don't know at first why they're coming home from school. They kind of don't want to tell anybody about it. They come to their very small rundown town that used to be a coal mining town, I believe, that people are all moving away from. Nobody's staying. It's kind of a dying town, and it's really, there's like some very creepy aspects to it, but in like the art style is very cutesy, but the actual themes are kind of creepy and freaky. There's this guy who used to live in the town who goes missing, and everyone thinks he left on the train because he always said he was going to go leave on the train and never come back. In like the first half of the game, they find an arm. It's set around Halloween time. You get to know the town and the people in it if you talk to them every day, and it is really good, but a little bit dark, a little bit creepy, but very, very good, very well made. Next, this game does not deserve to be in the top 5 because it is not as good as all of the other games I've mentioned. It is not as well polished, but I've put like 2,000 hours into it. It's Animal Crossing. I bought my Switch specifically. That was my first console with the Switch. I bought it specifically to play Animal Crossing. I played it for 2,000 hours. Like I said, I've played a lot of it. So even though I don't think it's as well polished as a lot of the other games I play, especially indie games, there's some really, really good, well polished, amazing indie games. I can't not put this on the list because it is the game I play the most of. So it just feels wrong not to. The next game is Hades, and this is a different kind of game than everything we've talked about so far. We've gotten to a lot of cozy games or story games, but I also love to play roguelites. I think they're so fun. I love games like this. Hades is a roguelite. It is a game where you play as the prince of the underworld trying to find his mother Persephone, who is on the surface, and you have to fight your way out of hell. And One of the things that is really good about this game, first of all, the art's incredible because the art has to be incredible, but the art's incredible. The fighting mechanics are like chef's kiss. They're perfect. They are really, really well thought out. It's just really, really good. And there's a story behind it. So usually in roguelites, all that happens every playthrough is you get upgrades, you become stronger, you get new perks, you get new things that you can use in your runs. But in Hades, you also get new dialogue every time, which is really cool, and you get to learn about what's going on. It takes a couple of runs before you even know why you're going up to the surface. It's just real. It is a really well-made game. It's beautiful. It's really fun to play. Absolutely love that game. The last game on this list was really hard to pick because I love a lot of games. There's a lot of games that could have gone on this, but I decided to go with Graveyard Keeper. Graveyard Keeper is a game where you get teleported into this kind of weird, creepy, very old school world, no internet, and you become the local graveyard keeper. And it kind of feels like everybody else has also weirdly been teleported into this world, and they're just convinced, they're just like not telling anyone about it because everyone's very sketchy. They don't quite feel like they belong there. They're not very good at their jobs. It just kind of feels like this world is made up of a bunch of people who are pretending to know what's going on, even though nobody seems to know what is going on. And it feels like some people have been doing it longer, so they've gotten acclimated to it, but it really does feel like nobody knows what's going on. If you played the game, let me know. There's a lot of grinding in this game, like a lot of grinding. Most of what you do is grinding, but it's really fun grinding. So in this game, you have to build everything from scratch because it's this old-timey world. So you build places to cut wood. You have to go out and physically find trees to cut wood and then bring the logs home and then cut the logs into pieces and then make them into something, and you have to get all the parts, and then you get all the parts, and then you can finally make a bench for your church because you also run the church because you're the keeper of the church and the graveyard. If you need something with stone, you have to go to the stone mill and you have to go get the stone. It's grindy. It is a grindy game, but it's fun grind. I like when a game is meant to be grindy, it can be really fun, and that is this. It is also one of those like weird, a little bit creepy, a little bit spooky kind of games, but it is really, really fun. I'm gonna be right back. I have to go to the bathroom. I'm gonna edit that part out. Okay, so the next thing I have, there's two more. We're gonna try and go over them quickly because the sun is going down. Restaurants. Most of the restaurants I like are not chained. They're like local spots, so I'm just gonna tell you about the type of food they are, okay? So, first of all, Caribbean. There is a really good Caribbean place near me. It does really delicious macaroni salad, which sounds crazy that that's what I like, but their macaroni salad is really good. I usually get lamb curry. I love a good lamb. So I get lamb curry there a lot, chicken and waffles. There's a bunch of stuff actually I get, but those are the two things that if they're on the menu that day, because it's a rotating menu, I will always get. There's a Mexican place that's in a basement, and it has really good authentic Mexican food. I haven't lived near it in a while, so I haven't gone in a while, but I miss it. I think of it fondly. There's a specific shawarma place that I used to live by, and it's so delicious. Best shawarma in the city. Shawarma is like a wrap. It's like the big skewers that they have spinning around, and they'll put the meat on. And if you get shawarma and the place you go to doesn't have pickled beets, it is not a good shawarma place. I've had shawarma in other cities that don't have as big of a shawarma culture, and they didn't have pickled beets, and the shawarma was bad. But good shawarma is so delicious. Absolutely love a good shawarma. The next is pho, just generally. There's not one place in particular that I love for pho or pho, depending on how you say it. Pretty much every place I've been to in the city is good. I think in one place I didn't like their pho, but it's hard to mess up if you know it. It's really good Vietnamese food. Absolutely freaking love it. The next one is there's a ramen place. There's actually two that I'm really fond of. One that is currently near me and one that is in a place I used to live. I've lived actually all over the city. So when I say I used to live, these places are not near each other. I've just lived in a bunch of different places in the city. So they've, most of them have been somewhere near where I've lived at some point in time, you know? But there's one near me that I really like, and there's one near where I lived when I first moved out that I really like. Either of those are really delicious. Also, shout out to Indian food. I don't have a favorite Indian food in the city, but I love Indian food. I absolutely love Indian food. It's the best. My boyfriend and I have been buying the like pre-made sauces and making Indian food. This week we're gonna be making mango curry, which I'm really excited for, and some vindaloo, which I'm also very excited for. Oh, and my go-to Indian food is palak paneer. Delicious. Okay, last is hobbies. So this was really hard for me to figure out and a little depressing. Definitely in this year, 2025, I need to get back into my hobbies. I have not been doing them. Also, a lot of my hobbies are things we have already talked about. Gaming is a big hobby. Reading is a big hobby. Listening to music is a huge hobby, as you can probably tell by how much I talked about it. Yeah, those are all hobbies I haven't enjoyed, but hobbies that I haven't enjoyed that aren't those things include painting. I am working on a thing in Animal Crossing where I try and get every villager's photo, and then I try and paint the villagers whose photos I have. I haven't done a single one yet, but I do have a bunch of villager photos, like a bunch of villager portraits from before when I used to paint a lot more. I need to get back into painting. It's messy though. I don't want to clean it up. So I think that's why I haven't been doing it. Another hobby I have is D&D. I, again, haven't done it in a while. But love D&D, so much fun. I played as a lot of different classes. We can never finish a campaign to save our freaking lives, but I love D&D, so much fun. YouTube, I feel like this I shouldn't have mentioned as a hobby, but I mean watching YouTube. I watch a lot of different types of content, not just the makeup content that I do on here, like the panning content. I watch tons and tons of stuff, have for years. I could tell you about the weirdest niches on here because I like to listen to people who are really passionate about things, talk about the things they're really passionate about in any context. Friendship bracelets. I like to make friendship bracelets. I used to camp when I was a kid and we used to make them. And so now I've started doing it as something to do with my hands. When I'm stressed. I need to get back into it. I don't know where my yarn is for that right now. I didn't buy the yarn for friendship bracelet making. I bought the yarn to try and learn how to knit, which I still don't know how to do. And lastly, this one my boyfriend had to tell me because I was like, what other hobbies do I have? I don't know. Board games. I own a bunch of board games. Well, a bunch being like 10. Love playing them. Don't get to play them enough. Okay. The sun is setting. Actually, it's pretty much dark out now, so I'm gonna go. Bye. I will see you guys later. Sorry this video is so long. I'm not that sorry. I'm sure you learned too much about me, and I have plans for a different video where you will learn even more about me, but different types of things. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking now, I think. Bye.